All signs point to this, as we have multiple huge Lakers updates to go over today surrounding Rob Pelinka and Rui Hachimura. Some reports are escalating surrounding his future with the Lakers. I'll break down exactly what those are and discuss what it means going forward, as well as break down some interesting updates surrounding the Lakers' next pursuit of a center as it pertains to both Rui Hachimura and, of course, one player in particular. We're going to break all it down in this episode, folks. Before we get into it, if you're a part of the 90% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Lakers content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable, so thank you guys for your continued support over here on the channel. And if you're a part of that percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys once again for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, a ton to go over today. The Lakers are in a very interesting spot right now, and I say that every video because it remains even more true after that ridiculous lottery that happened last night. And it's a little bit crazy. Of course, Cooper Flag is going to be going in all likelihood, unless they trade the pick to the Dallas Mavericks. The West gets a little bit stronger with the Spurs in the 2 seed now, or the 2 spot, I guess, in the lottery and in the draft. Things are crazy. But regarding the Lakers, they still need to make a move for a center. And of course, most of these moves are going to happen in the coming weeks once the NBA season ends and all these different things. However, we have multiple new reports that have dropped here, and there is a lot of interesting things. And you can see this here. We'll start with this one. Lakers trade rumors. LA can move Rui Hachimura to land a center. And this one is very intriguing because for a couple different reasons now, there's been a lot of rumblings, a lot of rumors about Rui Hachimura being traded out of Los Angeles in exchange for a center or, 3-and-D wing, though most likely a center here. And there's another report I want to dive into in a minute that kind of doubles down on this. Let's start with this. Brett Siegel of Clutch Points constructed this massive 3-team trade in which the Lakers part ways with Rui Hachimura and land center Knecht Claxton. So the Pistons would receive Rui Hachimura. The Brooklyn Nets would receive Maxi Kleber, Simon Fontecchio, Paul Reed, and some picks. There's a lot of different picks. Feel free to pause and read that. But the gist of it is Rui Hachimura, Maxi Kleber, and a pick for Knecht Claxton. You can see this here. Out of all needs the Lakers have entering the offseason, finding a sustainable long-term option at the center position is vital. Knecht Claxton was on the Lakers' list of potential trade targets this season, and it is expected they will once again inquire about the 26-year-old's availability with the Brooklyn Nets. And let's not forget that Jovan Buha came out recently and reported that the Lakers' number one priority is, of course, a center, as we know. But beyond that, their number one and their most preferred center is Knecht Claxton, and of course followed by a couple other interesting names there, but number one is Knecht Claxton. Now, Daniel Gafford being number 2. This makes a ton of sense. Now, do I think that you're going to have to give up Rui Hachimura in a deal for Knecht Claxton? I don't think that is necessarily the case, and I'm not saying that is what has to happen, but you can see this year, while all their attention is on the 2025 draft, the Nets are going to be open for business and willing to hear all proposals and offers coming their way. Sean Marks has done a nice job of assembling future draft picks, and the Nets are looming as a team, to potentially pursue Giannis Antetokounmpo. As a result, trading a player like Claxton from our future assets makes some sense. And of course, with the report that came out yesterday with Giannis requesting a trade, we'll have a video on that later tonight, all these different things happening, the Nets are positioning themselves probably to get more future assets. And I don't know if they want to keep Knecht Claxton on the team. And if you're the Lakers, I'm hearing some people, and I'm seeing it online a little bit, that, hey, trading Rui Hachimura for a very good center is filling one hole while opening up another. And I think there is something to be said about that. Rui was one of the best players in the Lakers last year, and his absence was seen very clearly when he was injured. But at the same time, I think that it's easier to find a player similar to Rui for this team, and whether that be asking Dorian Finney-Smith to step up a little bit. Obviously, different players. Dorian Finney-Smith is a better defender. Rui Hachimura is a better spot-up shooter in theory, better creating off the dribble for sure. But it's an interesting trade here to ponder, especially if you're getting Knecht Claxton back. And in this scenario, Hachimura gets sent to Detroit. The Nets get a ton of assets, including, again, Maxi Kleber, the 2031 first. So this is Rui and a 2031 first. I'm not exactly sure if they would prefer, now, again, this is a 3-team deal. And if this is what it takes to get Claxton, maybe the Lakers go ahead and do it. I would still prefer a Dalton, Knecht, and 2031 first-round pick package. But at the same time, if you're, either of these teams in this trade scenario between the Pistons and the Nets, I'm not exactly sure that you'd want, or at least the Pistons would rather Rui Hachimura to help win now because they're a competitive team, as opposed to, of course, Dalton, Knecht. But maybe you could work a one-on-one deal with the Brooklyn Nets. And if they're looking for young assets, and let's say they're going for Giannis Antetokounmpo in a hypothetical trade here, you would be wanting probably a 2031 first, and you might even prefer Dalton Knecht, depending on if you think you could get more assets for, Rui Hachimura in a subsequent trade. And you can see this here. Feel free to pause again and read. It's an interesting tweet. Nick Claxton would be a perfect fit for the Lakers. He brings what we've been missing, an athletic big who protect the rim, switch on defense, and bring nonstop energy. And on defense, he's a problem. Block shots, moves his feet, all these different things. Offensively, he doesn't need the ball to make an impact. He's a serious lob threat, runs the floor, and finishes plays. So I think it would make a ton of sense there. And it's a very interesting, scenario to go over here, because at the end of the day, there are more and more reports, more and more rumors starting to escalate surrounding specifically not Nick Claxton necessarily, even though we all know Nick Claxton is the Lakers' #1 priority at this, once this offseason hits. But if you can't get him, you can of course pivot. It is Rui Hachimura, and I'm very curious to see. Let me know down below. Do you think Rui Hachimura should be somebody who's placed on the trade block for the Lakers, or do you think that they should probably, hold on to him? Because again, he started almost every game he played for the Lakers this season, and even since he's come over from the Wizards, he is an elite shooter, and he took the biggest strides of his career last year with the Lakers. So getting rid of him would definitely leave a hole somewhat in this offense. Now, you can maybe hope for an Austin Reaves to step up. Different players, vastly different players, but you can ask other guys to step up, and you can even fill some of the holes there in free agency, because at this juncture, the #1 problem with the Lakers, at this moment at least, is the center position. But you don't want to open up other holes by filling a hole like, of course, getting rid of Rui Hachimura. And this was another report that dropped just a couple days ago from SI Now, Sports Illustrated Now. The Lakers could trade Rui Hachimura to land a center this offseason per them. So this is another report saying that the Lakers are open to trading Rui Hachimura away to land a center. And again, it once again begs the question, what are they going to do with Dalton Knecht? What are they going to do with Austin Reaves? Assuming they want to keep Austin Reaves, and let's say they use Rui and a 2031 first-round pick to land a center, whatever center it is, probably Nick Claxton, but let's say it's Daniel Gafford, which would be a vast overpay, but let's say it's someone like that, right? Then what do you do? So let's say you trade your 2031 first and Rui Hachimura for Nick Claxton. Then you have a bit of a hole regarding your 3-and-D wing, all these different things. Now you could start to maybe pivot towards a guy like PJ Washington, who now that Cooper Flagg assumingly is going to get drafted in Dallas, he is available, you would assume, because I'm not sure exactly where he fits in this team. Then you're filling two holes there. You're getting PJ to replace Rui Hachimura, but you're getting your point of attack defender. And then after that, you're of course getting your center in Nick Claxton. So there's a couple different ways, a couple different avenues here for this team to go about it, but multiple reports saying that Rui Hachimura could be on his way out of LA. A lot of reports are saying that the Lakers are now willing to trade Rui Hachimura in a deal. And again, he is their starter, so you'd have to get a starting level small forward back somewhere. And of course, whether that's Dorian Finney-Smith, whether that's keeping him, having LeBron James slide down, moving Dorian Finney-Smith to the power forward spot, or even playing Dorian Finney-Smith somehow in the small forward spot. There's a lot of different options there, but the bench unit is not great right now unless you're hoping for a huge jump and leap in development from Dalton Knecht's side. It's going to be interesting, and we're going to keep you up to date all season, or all off season long, and all season long once it comes back around. But a bunch of new reports. Let me know, would you do this deal, and what your thoughts are on this trade surrounding Rui Hachimura and, of course, Nick Claxton. Cheers.